Right now, 82% of Gen Z and 62% of millennials say they cannot afford to buy a home this year. The math backs them up. We are looking at a market where baseline requirements for entry are moving further away from average incomes every single month. This chart compares homeownership rates across different generations when they were exactly 35 years old. The historical baseline is remarkably stable for older groups. Baby boomers sat at 61.5%, and Gen X was right behind them at 59.4%. But millennials dropped to 56%, and Gen Z is currently sitting at a total homeownership rate of just 26.1%. What makes that drop critical is the momentum. For decades, youth homeownership tracked on a steady, predictable upward slope as people aged into their careers. Today, that upward trend has essentially hit a wall, flatlining year over year. Only 24% of Americans currently view buying a home as a good investment for this year. The core assumption that buying property is a guaranteed, sensible next step in adult life is collapsing in real time. Between 2020 and 2026, the underlying math of the American housing market fractured. Owning a home stopped being an expected milestone of the middle class and shifted into a highly exclusive financial achievement. This dual axis graph shows exactly how that fracture happened. Starting in 2020, median home prices jumped between 53 and 55%. Then, starting in 2022, mortgage rates more than doubled, swinging from 3% to 7%. When those two metrics collided, they created a massive mechanical barrier. By 2024, the typical monthly payment for a new buyer hit a record $2,800 a month. To put that in perspective, if you could afford a specific house at a 3% rate in 2021, you cannot afford that exact same house in 2026, unless your income has somehow increased by roughly 40%. Very few workers under 40 received a 40% raise over the last 5 years. Then we add the second variable, the lock-in effect. Right now, over 60% of all outstanding U.S. mortgages carry an interest rate below 4%. People who refinanced or bought during that low-rate window have zero financial incentive to sell their property, because moving means trading a 3% mortgage for a brand new 7% mortgage. So they just stay put, which completely starves the market of existing housing inventory. Look at this pie chart to see who is actually buying in a starved market. Baby boomers now account for 42% of all home purchases. Gen Z accounts for about 4%. Older buyers have decades of accumulated home equity. When a boomer buys a house today, they are frequently paying entirely in cash or putting down such a massive down payment from a previous home sale that today's 7% interest rate doesn't actually affect them. Young buyers are fighting to enter a frozen, inventory-starved market while bidding against cash-rich demographics who are virtually immune to the interest rate shock. Millennials and Gen Z also carry a unique third variable into this equation, the debt drag. The graduating class of 2023 entered the workforce carrying an average of $37,693 in student loan debt. This graphic shows exactly how mortgage lenders view that student debt. Because banks monitor your debt-to-income ratio, a typical $350 monthly payment instantly erases up to $70,000 in purchasing power. And there is a harsh opportunity cost. Saving that same $350 a month toward a down payment represents 7 additional years of waiting. The standard financial advice for all this is variable 4, just move somewhere cheaper. And initially, remote work did allow young professionals to flee expensive coastal cities like San Francisco and New York. But that migration simply transferred the inflation. Moving to cities like Austin, Boise, or Nashville drastically increased local demand and drove up housing costs. There is no unlimited, affordable frontier left to escape to. Geographic arbitrage also ignores the very real costs that don't fit into a spreadsheet, like abandoning family support networks, losing local career momentum, and uprooting your entire social circle. The old conventional wisdom of paying down your student loans and moving to a cheaper state no longer mathematically functions as a reliable escape hatch for buyers under 40 in today's modern housing market. If you feel priced out right now, look at the macroeconomic equation. You are navigating a structural blockage created by the variables we've just mapped out. However, there is one variable that will eventually balance the equation: time and a massive wave of incoming housing supply. This area chart tracks projected construction data from the Mortgage Bankers Association. They forecast that developers could build between 10.6 and 14.6 million new housing units between 2026 and 2035. That number would genuinely outpace the projected buyer demand of 11 million units over the same period. There is a generational catch. This incoming supply relief will likely arrive too late for older millennials, whose prime buying window is closing right now. But for younger Gen Z buyers, it offers a mathematically sound exit strategy. The current market is a temporary mismatch of supply and rates. It will ease. For a lot of younger buyers, the question isn't, will this ever get better? It's, can I afford to wait for it to? If you are one of the 82% who feel priced out right now, drop your city in the comments. I want to see how widespread this actually is across different local markets. And if you're trying to buy despite all this math, subscribe. Next week's video covers the exact programs and strategies first-time buyers are using to get in right now.